Okay, I know the title sounds crazy, but hear me out. This is a really long story, so grab a snack. My name is Jessica, 29F, and I was about to celebrate my 6th wedding anniversary with my husband David, 33M. We didn't have any kids, which was fine by me as I was never really that interested in having children. A couple months before the anniversary, my sister Alyssa, 27F, moved to our city after getting a new job here. Alyssa and I were never really that close growing up. She always seemed jealous of me and would talk behind my back to other family members about me. I think she hated that I was more successful and better looking than her. Whatever the reason was, I tried not to let it bother me too much. Anyway, after Alyssa moved here, she started coming over to my place a lot more often than normal. At first I figured that she was just getting settled into her new city. But then I started to notice she was getting a little too friendly with David. Like she would laugh a little too hard at his jokes and find excuses to touch his arm or shoulders when talking to him. She also started dressing up more than usual when coming over, doing her hair and makeup in a way she didn't normally. I talked to David about it and expressed that I thought Alyssa was acting a bit flirty towards him. But he just waved it off, saying, "Oh, you know that's just how she is. She has always been real chatty." So, our 6th anniversary rolls around. We had reservations at a fancy restaurant downtown. I was getting ready and noticed David's phone had a bunch of texts from Alyssa that just said "I'm sorry" over and over again. That was weird, but I didn't think much of it at the time. We get to the restaurant and David seems pretty distracted, looking around constantly like he is waiting for someone. I asked if he was expecting someone else to join us, and he said no, everything's fine. A little later, the waiter comes over and says, "Pardon me, but is one of you David?" And David kind of hangs his head and says, "Yeah, that's me." And the waiter goes, "There is a lady out front who says she really needs to talk to you about something important." David excuses himself from the table and goes out front. He never came back from talking to that lady out front. After about an hour, it became clear he had ditched me at the restaurant on our anniversary. I had to shamefully ask for the check and sneak out of there alone while the staff looked at me with pity. In the Uber home, I finally worked up the courage to check David's phone, which he, mistakenly in hurry, had left on the table. Sure enough, the lady was none other than my own sister Alyssa. They had planned this whole thing to elope together and run away, leaving me alone. Over the next few days, I had to go through the humiliation of telling friends and family what happened. Most were outraged on my behalf, saying horrible things about David and Alyssa. Calling them selfish, manipulative snakes who deserve each other. A few actually took David's side, saying I must have been an awful wife who drove him into Alyssa's arms. Like I was somehow to blame for him cheating with my own sister. In public, I've been acting like the devastated, abandoned wife. I cry on demand, I look drained and sulk around in sadness. But in private, behind closed doors, I'll admit it, I am relieved that David is gone. I'm happy that he eloped with Alyssa. Here's the truth that no one knows, our marriage was already a sham. He had been cheating on me constantly with multiple women for years. I knew about his infidelity but stuck around, partially out of convenience and partially hoping he would change. I was actually planning to finally divorce him, and had planned to blindside him with the news on our anniversary night. So, in a way, Alyssa running off with him on that night was perfect timing. It gave me justification and allowed me to avoid being the bad wife who broke up our marriage. David is the cheating scumbag who blew it all up, not me. And here's the best part, I know Alyssa is going to get what's coming to her too. She thinks she has rescued David from an unhappy marriage and that they will ride off into the sunset together. But I know better. David is a selfish, serial cheater who lies and manipulates women. He did it with me for years, while we were married, and he will inevitably do it to her too. Maybe 6 months down the road, maybe a year, she'll realize what a morally bankrupt person he truly is. So, to all my friends asking why I seem to be taking this so well, that's why. I got David out of my life once and for all, and in a few months, I will get that sweet karmic revenge on Alyssa too when he pulls the same crap with her. It's bittersweet, but ultimately, I know I am the winner here and they are the true losers. I can't wait to watch it all unfold. So Ida Reddit? Let me know your thoughts. I realize this sounds nuts, but I promise I am not exaggerating a thing. Update number 1. It has been a few months since that fateful anniversary night when my cheating ex-husband David ditched me at the restaurant to elope with my own sister Alyssa. I have to admit, being suddenly single again after 6 years of marriage was an adjustment. But overall, I have been absolutely loving this new freedom and independence. No longer do I have to crawl into bed with a selfish, lying partner who had been stepping out on me for years. No longer do I have to fake being happy while seething inside with anger over his betrayals. It was just me, myself, and I am totally content with that. I have redecorated the apartment to my taste, spent tons of quality time with friends, had flings with a couple of new men, and advanced significantly at work now that I can put in more hours. This single life actually rules after being trapped in an awful marriage for so long. Of course, I still keep tabs on what David and Alyssa have been up to out of a sense of curiosity. From social media and mutual friends, it seemed like the hot streamy affair phase lasted only a couple of months before the dramatic crash and burn. I knew it was inevitable. Which brings me to last night. Around 10 p.m., I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, I could instantly tell it was Alyssa based on the hysterical sobbing and whimpering on the other end. I will admit, I felt a little surge of justification. She was reaping what she sowed after so cruelly betraying me. Once she finally composed herself enough to speak, Alyssa sobbed out the whole sad story. Apparently, David's love for her had an expiration date of only a couple months before he started pulling away and shutting down. Out of nowhere, he claimed he was unhappy in the relationship and wanted to take a break. Turns out this was code for him leaving her for one of his uber-wealthy divorcee side pieces, an older woman closer to his age who could bankroll his lifestyle. In a matter of days, David had cleared out their shared bank accounts, gotten his name taken off the lease, and moved out to go live lavishly with his sugar mama. Leaving my sister Alyssa with virtually nothing, not even a place to live. As Alyssa sobbed and vented about what a scumbag David was, how he had totally used and manipulated her only to discard her for the next shiny object, it was hard not to think I told you so. I did try to warn Alyssa, but her jealousy over me blinded her to the truth about David's nature. So, when Alyssa begged to meet up with me over coffee and apologize for everything, for the betrayal of eloping with my husband on our anniversary, part of me wanted to revel in her misery a little longer. She brought this fully on herself by being petty and deceitful and helping to nuke my own marriage in such a selfish manner. But at the end of the day, she was still my little sister. We may have our differences and she can be a spiteful person, but I don't actually wish harm and destitution on her. So, I agreed to meet up the next afternoon to hear her out. When Alyssa arrived, she looked like a shell of her former self. Massive bags under her eyes, disheveled hair, stained sweatpants, the life had been totally drained out of this once overly primped woman. As she launched into a blubbery "I'm so sorry" atonement monologue, I actually felt sympathy for her. Alyssa admitted that yes, she had been jealous of me and my life for years. That toxic envy caused her to give in to temptation when David started putting the moves on her. At the time, she thought he was a great guy who could finally make her happier than her elder sister. She had mistaken herself into thinking eloping with him and blowing up my life was a wise move. Now, after the rug being pulled from under her so heartlessly, Alyssa realized David was just a master manipulator without a bit of empathy who love-bombed her only to rinse and repeat his cycle of cheating and deception. She was just the latest in a long line of his victims. As I listened to her recount all the ways he had mistreated her, left her emotionally and financially devastated and abandoned, I flashed back to all the times David had pulled similar cruel stunts with me over the years. At least I didn't have children or assets seriously tangled up with him before getting discarded. In that moment, Alyssa and I realized we had both been taken for a ride by the same narcissistic conman. Her blind jealousy had caused her to miss all the same red flags about David's true nature that I had been willing to overlook during our marriage. We had both wasted way too much time and emotion on someone so fundamentally toxic. That's when I started to get an idea. We both had been among the string of wronged women used and discarded by David over the years. But from Alyssa's description, this new sugar mama divorcee girlfriend seemed to be in total delusion about what a great partner she had landed, how in love they were, how he would finally be the ride or die loyal companion she was looking for after her own divorce. Alyssa and I looked at each other and realized, why should this new woman have to find out the same way we did, after months or years of emotional and financial abuse? Someone needed to give her a reality check on the sort of cheating lowlife liar she was choosing to hitch her wagon to before it was too late. I floated the idea, why didn't Alyssa and I confront this woman face to face, tell her the heavily documented truth about David's sordid past and patterns, and urge her to dump him before being taken for everything she was worth? For once, we could take the power back from this man who had so badly taken advantage of us. To my surprise, Alyssa was totally on board with this delightfully petty plan for justice. So, we spent the next couple hours prepping, looking up the woman's name and address and any other intel we could find on her, getting Alyssa's emotional story straight so she could give an impassioned plea, even assembling a binder of text messages, bank statements, and other receipts that proved David was a lifelong grifter. The next morning bright and early, we rolled up to this posh high-rise downtown where David's new sugar baby resided. When the doorman tried to stop us, I made up some BS story about being relatives wanting to surprise my aunt with an urgent personal matter. He bought it and let us up. I won't go into all the cringy details, but when David's new girl finally answered the door, you could see the sheer panic and confusion wash over her Botoxed face as Alyssa and I barged into her home. She clearly wasn't ready to have her sordid little love affair exposed like this. Alyssa did most of the talking, reading from a script about each and every way David had done her wrong, the love bombing, the cheating, the financial abuse, the sudden discard for a new source of money and shelter. She was crying, yelling, begging this woman not to become his next victim. I stayed more reserved, simply pulling out the heavy binder of evidence each time David's sugar mama tried to interrupt or deny Alyssa's claims. I showed her bank statements indicating how hundreds of thousands of dollars had been slowly siphoned out of Alyssa's accounts into a slush fund David had tapped into before leaving her. I produced incriminating texts and photos proving his endless infidelity. At a certain point, the woman simply broke down sobbing, finally seeing David for the sociopathic scammer he was. She asked for some time to process it all, so Alyssa and I left her with the binder and warned her if she didn't get as far away from David as possible immediately, the same nightmare would just keep repeating itself endlessly. After it was all over, Alyssa pulled me aside and finally offered a real, Sincere apology for everything. For the years of jealousy toward me, for the sneaky affair with my husband, for the underhanded way she tried to steal my life out from under me on that anniversary night. I could tell she finally had perspective on how despicable and selfish she had been. She said if I was willing, she'd like to try turning over a new leaf and actually be sisters again, real ones who had each other's backs this time instead of looking to sabotage and one up the other. As crazy as it sounds after everything, I agreed it was worth a shot. No one else will truly understand the David experience and how he so completely preyed upon us both in different ways. We have a chance now to support each other's healing from that toxic relationship and ensure neither of us ever gets fooled by a scammer like him again. So that's where things are at currently. My life has done a complete 180 from where I was just a few months ago, dreading another anniversary attached to an unfaithful leech of a husband. Now I'm free, independent, seeing my career and other relationships flourish without David's negativity weighing me down. And in an unexpected twist, the sister who I thought stabbed me in the back most deeply is now an ally of sorts. Alyssa and I have been through the same emotional ringer with this vile, manipulative man and seen how he operates firsthand. We're bonding over that shared trauma and have each other's backs in a way we never did before. Could Alyssa and I one day actually become close? Could I ever fully regain that unconditional sisterly trust after her betrayal? It remains to be seen. But for now, I'll settle for having a truth bomb partner to help other potential victims see David's true colors before getting sucked into his toxic cycle. Call that sisterly solidarity 2.0 for now. So Ida, for being happy David is out of my life for good, even if it came through such a slimy betrayal with my own sibling? For feeling a sense of perverse glee along with Alyssa about blowing up his current sugary romance and ensuring he faces real consequences this time? I realize it all looks petty, unhinged, and unforgivable from the outside. But you'll just have to trust me when I say David's punishment was a long time coming. He deserves that and much more. Let me know if I'm being too harsh or self-justified here. Despite the misery that Snake tried to inflict upon me, I'm truly in a good place now. I just love some neutral outside validation that I'm not totally in the wrong here given the circumstances. Thanks for reading my overly long saga, friend.